There is one thing I remind my students of over and over and over again. Don't forget what it is that got you excited about playing guitar in the first place. There are two very important reasons for this, and it can make all the difference in how far you get as a guitar player. And today we're going to discuss the 5 riffs that really got me excited when I was still pretending this thing was a guitar. As I see students develop, there are 2 very common hurdles that I see them run into. And the first one is they get caught up in so much technique and speed and learning how to do things that are just like really physically impressive that they forget all about melody and songwriting. And at some point, you probably want to get back to writing music that people that don't play the instrument also can appreciate. And the second thing I see, and this one is common as heck, I see posts on Reddit all the time about this, and that is that you get to a certain point in your development and you just don't really know what to do next. And my question when I see posts like that to the player is always, what got you excited about playing guitar in the first place? Go back to what that is that you think sounds really cool and stop trying to figure out what the next most difficult thing is and start working on what the next most cool sounding thing is. Anyway, there's a whole other lesson in there, and that's not really quite what we're here to talk about today. Today I'm going to tell you what the 5 riffs were that really got me into playing guitar before I ever had the instrument in my hand. The year was 1982, and it was still going to be 4 more years before I started playing guitar, and I had this plastic record player in my room with the speaker built right in, and I was rocking out to, man, I hate to admit this, Donna Summer. I'm not saying I didn't ever listen to rock, but it was just an occasional band here and there. And then one day I was visiting my aunt and uncle's house, and they had cable, and cable had MTV, and MTV had on this little band from the UK called Judas Priest. That changed everything. My next trip to the record store, all of my allowance money went to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden records and anything else that had a cover that just looked metal on it. So riff number 1 for me is the basic rhythm riff to You Got Another Thing Coming by Judas Priest. It's not particularly complex, but it definitely made my first chest hairs come in. Now, as I said, I did listen to some rock music before that when I was a littler kid, and one of the bands that I was really into, which I think every boy was in the late 70s, 80s, who was like, early teens or whatever, was Kiss. And for all their gimmicks and everything, they actually wrote some really cool riffs, and one of them was on an album, Hotter Than Hell, and the song was called Parasite or Parasite, however you want to call it. They sang it kind of weird. And it had a really cool, very simple riff, but this one always stuck out to me. As I said, nothing crazy there, but I always had fun playing it, and I kind of have a little story about that too. It was first grade, and there was this girl I had a massive crush on. Her name was Kelly. I'm not going to say her last name. And she was over at my house. I guess we were having a kiddie play date or whatever. And I remember I pulled out that tennis racket I was talking about before and put on the radio and started plucking at the thing. And somehow I felt the need to tell her that it was actually some kind of magical guitar and what she was hearing was actually me playing. So all these years later, I want to officially apologize to Kelly for being such an idiot. Another older one that I loved was from Foreigner's self-titled debut album, and the song was Hot Blooded. The next one is one that very few people probably associate as an iconic guitar riff or even from a band that's known for guitar playing, but every time I heard this riff, I freaking loved it. And it kind of goes like this. Yeah, just that. That's it. I heard that little bit and I thought it was so cool, and it's from Huey Lewis and the News, I Want a New Drug. And actually the guitar part is 2 guitars. There's a whole nother layer over it that adds to the coolness of it that are kind of playing a bit of a counterpoint thing there. So check it out if you haven't heard the song. And at number 5 is probably the one that I wore out the most tennis strings playing along to, and that is the main riff from Photograph by Def Leppard. So this is where I usually do my whole outro kind of speech, but today I'm just going to roll out with a couple more guitar riffs that I loved, and These were things that I thought were absolute guitar wizardry, and it turns out that they weren't super hard to play, even though the one of them I can never get quite right. But anyway, that doesn't make them any less cool, and that's the whole point of this. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.